Hello folks, and welcome back to my channel. Have you noticed the new addition? There's a real video, I promise. I'm just so excited. Look at this incredible neon sign. I found this on Facebook Marketplace in Seattle for a steal. It is actual neon. It's beautiful. I can't express how vibrant it is in person, and I'm cheesing. You know, if you thrift or if you Facebook Marketplace, you know the satisfaction of a really great find like this. Real neon like this goes for thousands of dollars. I found this thing for 60 bucks, and then my incredible partner Brian drove all of the way out into bumfuck nowhere to pick it up. I'm so thrilled with it. It's living here right now in my filming station, and if I love it, it'll stay here forever. But I hope eventually when Nexus is in maybe a bigger space, and a space that's set up to have neon like this, that it can live in one of the windows there. And that's really what it's designed for. It's designed to hang in a window. The way it is hung right now in my apartment is a little bit janky. We're not going to talk about it. Brian did it. It's very secure, but it's definitely not the way that this type of sign is intended to be hung. But what a good find. I'm just so thrilled with it. And I'm staring at myself in the camera right now, filming this, and I'm like, oh, the background looks so good. I'm very excited about it. Anyway, the point of today's video, because there is one, I swear. So I was working the other day with a really, really wonderful client of mine who is kind of becoming a client and a friend. And we were talking, and she works in healthcare, but her big hobby, her big thing is makeup. And every single time I see her and work on her, I mean, her makeup is so on point every single time. Every single time, even a casual, just running errands day, her makeup always looks so perfect. Her skin always looks so perfect. I am so in awe of her skills with this. But she came in the other day, we were swapping around some jewelry, and just updating some stuff, and we were chatting, and she was like, yeah, I've been on this big journey of de-stashing my makeup. I have a couple palettes that I think you might like if you want some. And we were talking, and I was like, I'm also kind of doing the same thing in de-stashing my makeup. And we both started talking about how in 2015, we were super into makeup and beauty YouTube and content online, and how both of us spent entirely too much money during those years on makeup. I did a really big de-stash a couple years ago and probably got rid of 30 palettes and 20 lipsticks and a ton of blushes and single shadows. And I'm one person, and I used to do makeup every single day. People who've been following me for a long time remember when every single video was a different bold eye look. I used to do makeup every single day, so I was definitely wearing it. But I gave away 30 palettes, which means that I owned 50 or 60 palettes. What was one individual human going to do with 50, 60 eyeshadow palettes? I have palettes that I've owned since high school where I've only hit pan on 2 colors. Nobody come for me. Listen, makeup expiration dates are a suggestion in my world, okay? That is my emotional support modern Renaissance palette. You can pry it from my cold dead hands. And we kind of got to talking about the way the beauty and makeup community then, and honestly kind of still today, really encouraged a shopping addiction. Every new video that came out, every new anything that came out, it made you feel like you needed to have that thing. The latest palette, the latest lipstick, the latest product. If you weren't trying this new primer or this new foundation or this new eyeshadow, what were you doing? You were missing out. Even if you had a full bottle of foundation at home that worked perfectly for you, well, you had to try this new formula. Oh, you already have 50 blue eyeshadows, but do you have this exact shade of blue? And look how pigmented it is, and look how good it is, and here's a discount code. And you just spiral into kind of a shopping addiction very quickly, both because the content is geared to make you feel like you have to spend the money, and if you don't buy it right now, you're missing out, and you'll never get the chance again. And a lot of us utilize that dopamine hit of shopping or buying something or getting something that we're excited for as a way of dealing with stress and things in life. And it really made me reflect on the way the piercing industry does the same. And I've talked about this before on my channel. I have a Try to Get Ready With Me talking about my shopping addiction. And I am in my second no-buy year on big ear jewelry. I completed a successful no buy year last year. I did not get myself any new weights or any new anything. I did get myself one new pair of plugs, but my studio that I was working at the time was doing like a collaboration deal with a stone maker. And so everyone at the shop with stretched ears got like a wild discount on a really nice pair of plugs so that we could photograph ourselves wearing them and like advertise for these plugs we were starting to stock. And I had the biggest ears, so everyone was like, well, we need Lynn to get a pair. And so it was a work obligation. It doesn't count. But I'm going to a second no buy year, which I thought I was going to finish my first no buy year and be like, reward, I get to buy a bunch of earrings. But I've opened my own studio. I have a lot of other expenses. The world is terrible. I feel like we are hurtling towards a recession, if not already in it by the time this video comes out. And I own a lot of earrings. I own too many earrings. I own so many. I don't need more earrings. I have so many. I have more than I could wear every day for like 2 months, probably more, probably 3 or 4 months. Like what do I need, you know? But increasingly, now that I'm in my own studio and I am doing things in a way that I enjoy and that aligns with me, I'm realizing more of this industry is geared around I hesitate to say predatory sales behavior and predatory purchasing behavior because I feel like people are going to hear that and immediately be like, how could you say that, Lynn? This is the industry that you work in. This is the industry that you're a part of. And I don't want this to be misinterpreted. I am not putting a value judgment on these statements. I am simply trying to use the words as they are defined to describe what is happening. I don't think that studios are predatory. I don't think that piercers are predatory. I think some people probably are, you know, if we're being honest. But inherently, I don't think most people in the industry are. I think when we live in a capitalist society and when we are basically required for a business to be deemed successful to have perpetual growth and perpetual expansion, and in the day and age of social media and all of these things, kind of the blueprint to survive in this way is a bit of predatory sales tactics. And what I mean by this is not that piercers are sitting there trying to like get everyone who comes in their studio to spend hundreds and thousands of dollars. What I mean is the industry as a whole comes together to create this, right? So a lot of it, I think, really does start online and with social media. Jewelry brands and studios and makers post these limited edition pieces, these one-of-a-kind pieces, these limited edition releases, or these new designs, and they're like limited stock, get in your orders now. And they send out their emails to all of the piercing studios and they're like, we've got these special pieces, we've got these rare pieces, we've got these, you've got to get them. And then the piercers want to buy up these things and buy up these new things and then post about them and be like, we just got these in stock. They're brand new. They're super cool. Maybe they're limited edition. Maybe it's a one-of-a-kind stone. Maybe we only got 2 of this design in and we don't know when we'll restock. And we create this perceived scarcity around a lot of these pieces and this excitement. And then the clients see that and they go, oh my God, I love that piece. And I like don't want it to sell. I don't want it to be gone. I want to get it. And like, I have to get it now, otherwise it's going to sell or I'm going to lose it or whatever the case may be. And then we do that in perpetuity. And then we do that over and over and over and over to where there becomes this sort of like incessant need to purchase more pieces and to get more things and to get more piercings. And I was in that cycle myself. I amassed a giant collection of body jewelry because of a few years in my apprenticeship when that was really the only thing I was able to spend money on. I talk about that in my shopping addiction Try to Get Ready With Me, but like literally the only thing I really was like allowed to spend my money on was body jewelry. And every week it was a new company that was like, here's a one-of-a-kind pair of ear weights. Here's a limited edition thing. Here's a sales code. Here's this. And it just felt like if I wasn't purchasing those pieces, we created this mindset where it was like, well, then you'll never get it again. Like this is a one-of-a-kind piece, or we don't know when we'll get the next one in, and this perceived scarcity and this perceived competition for who would get it, and the language that we would use to talk about it, like so-and-so came into the studio and snagged this piece and, managed to get it before anyone else, got it before it hit the cases. Like this weird, like perceived rush or scramble to make sure that you get everything. And when we think about piercing as an industry, I've talked about this a ton on my channel. It's a lot of people are gravitated and drawn towards piercing who are neurodivergent, who are using it as a way to reclaim their body and themselves from trauma, are using it to connect with deeper things. Like all of these things that I love about piercing and make piercing really magical, having these beautiful bodily restorative moments with clients, having these gender affirming moments with clients, having these like beautiful ritualistic moments with clients, seeing the way it allows clients to feel like they get to express themselves and connect with themselves. Piercing is a very personal, very intimate experience for many, and it's a lot of people who are using it as a way to help heal and grow and expand from things that have happened in their life or things in their mind. And so these are people who I think are often very susceptible to forming these deep emotional connections with their piercings and their pieces of jewelry. And then the only way that we market stuff in a capitalist society kind of preys upon that and makes these people feel like, okay, I need to keep purchasing these pieces. Like I need to get this piece before I miss out. I need to do all of these things. And the end result is I have a couple clients right now who have come in and sat down with me and been like, will you help me figure out like what I can do with all of these pieces? I had one particular client come in who has spent thousands and thousands of dollars in the last year or two on jewelry because every single time they went into a studio and they saw a piece, the sales staff was like, oh my God, that would look so good on you. That would go great with your set, da 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 da. And then they were going online and they were seeing there's this sale on this online store. This is this like one of a kind piece and you've got to get it. Who's going to snap it up first? Where is it going to go? We don't think it'll last long. And now they have a huge collection of beautiful pieces. Don't get me wrong, beautiful, beautiful pieces. Most of them don't match their setup. Most of them aren't quite the right color tone for the gems that they're wearing. Many of them don't really fit perfectly or comfortably in the piercings that they have. A lot of them are just a little bit too big or just a little bit too small or just don't really match with the flow of what's going on with their ears. And rather than anyone at any point in time encouraging this client to slow down on their purchasing and be really intentional with their pieces and maybe not buy 6 new pieces in a month, but wait, let things heal, and then sit there and Photoshop different things on the ear and see what works, or custom order a piece with the perfect stone for the combo that they're building, as opposed to buy 2 or 3 pieces out of the case that they'll rotate between, but none of them are really exactly what this person was looking for that piercing. I had another client back when I worked in Nashville who was a good regular and bought a lot of jewelry at the studio and came in one day and expressed to me like, hey, I really should like slow down my purchasing. Things are getting really tight. My husband has some unexpected medical expenses come up. Like we need to be really mindful with that. And I was like, yeah, absolutely. Like, let's slow down on our ear curation. Let's slow down on our plan. Let's do what feels comfortable for you. Like I've said it all the time at work. I don't want anyone to eat ramen noodles for a week over like a body piercing or something like that. And she was going to multiple studios in the area because she traveled a lot for work and came back a couple weeks later and had like 5 new things in her ear. And I was like, oh, I thought we were like slowing down. And she was like, I know, but I went to this other shop and they were like, oh, like we're having a sale and like we'll give you a really good deal. And some of these pieces, like we don't know when we're gonna get them in again. And I couldn't help but think to myself, this is a great client who spent thousands and thousands of dollars with you already, who's expressing that she is experiencing financial hardship right now because her husband is having health issues. Why are we still saying, oh my God, look at all these sales pieces? Why are we ringing her up for a $1,500 sale? I mean, yeah, they gave her like a $500 discount, but still a $1,500 sale after she's expressed these things. I hear from a lot of clients that they go into studios and they feel pressured to purchase gold. I hear studios talk about not having an anodizer because then no one will want to spend the money on gold if they can just anodize titanium to look gold. And I look at the way we advertise and post and talk, and I'm guilty of this too, right? I'm aware of this because I'm guilty of this too. In the past, at studios I've worked at, I very much posted and framed things in a way to encourage clients to feel like they had to come in and buy that piece right now. Like they had to come in and get it, like it was gonna disappear off the shelves, like we could never get another one. Like that one-of-a-kind stone was so one-of-a-kind, I could never find something similar. And it's smart marketing. It's super smart marketing, and it's super effective, and it works, and it gets people in, and it sells things. Is that really the goal, though? Do we need to encourage this like perceived scarcity and mindset of need and encourage people to feel like they have to come in and get pierced or get a piece of jewelry right now or they're gonna miss out? Do we need to build a system where it feels if you're not getting pierced with like a fancy one-of-a-kind piece of gold, you're not cool or you're not having a cool piercing experience? And furthermore, when we see a client who is maybe struggling with something like a shopping addiction, when we see someone who's going through stuff in their life, who's having a hard time, who comes into our studios and says things like, I'm just having like a really bad week and I just want something like pretty to make me feel better. And they're doing that often while also expressing to us that they're in financial difficulty or in financial hardship, or also expressing to us that like they have a bunch of pieces that maybe aren't perfect or maybe aren't working. When does it become our responsibility as an industry or a community to say, hey, maybe I don't need to prioritize making this sale? Or, hey, maybe the way that we're marketing and the way that we're talking about pieces and the way that we're selling things is feeding into this shopping addiction. And the more I research and the more I learn about shopping addictions and the more I see how they go about in all sorts of different fields, I see how wildly similar they are. I did a deep dive after that conversation with that client and found out a lot about people who have like yarn and craft supply shopping addictions, and the way like the perpetual coupon codes and sales at like Joann's and Michael's brings people in and they buy like they're crocheters and they buy like mountains of yarn and they just have like piles of yarn. They spend more time buying yarn and looking for deals than they do like actually crocheting and making the thing. The way people in the video game world feel like they have to buy every new game as soon as it releases and every new console and every new accessory, even though they have like a pile of games they haven't even played yet. But if they don't buy it at release right when it comes out, what was the point? And I don't think this is uniquely a piercing industry problem. And I don't want anyone to sit there and be like, Lynn is just being mean about the piercing industry. I think it is an all industries problem of living in a capitalist society. But I think until we address it as people in the industry and start talking about shopping addiction and about the way we market and talk about these things being harmful to clients, it's not really going to get any better. And listen, things are getting financially difficult for everyone right now, especially in America. Things are getting really tight. Inflation is untenable. The cost of gold is unbelievable right now. And we're still marketing things in a way that make people feel lesser than if they're not running out to buy the latest earring that we have. And I sit back and I ask myself, like, is this the right thing to do with what's going on in the world right now? And it doesn't feel like it is. I want to change the way I market and the way I talk about things and the spaces I create. And I want to build a studio where it is not sales focused. Like, listen, don't get me wrong. We have to make sales to make a living. Clients who come in and purchase more expensive pieces and gold pieces, they absolutely do allow my studio to stay open. They pay my bills. They put food on my table. They allow me to take care of my apprentice and pay him a living wage. It would be foolish of me to try and pretend that that isn't how my studio survives. But there can also come a point where I can acknowledge that I can survive on a lower profit margin and tighter numbers and limits, and do so by trusting that my community will come in and support me, and that all of those people who get titanium, all of those people who access and utilize those free services that we offer at Nexus, but still tell their friends about us or recommend us or leave a good review, also all contribute to the success of my business. And I don't have to do business in a way where I'm specifically catering to the clients who can spend more money, or where I'm specifically trying to make people feel a sense of urgency or a sense of need or a sense of requirement to come in and buy stuff right away. And I can be mindful about how I talk about jewelry, how I advertise. I can be respectful. When a client comes in and mentions that things are difficult or they have a tight budget, I can choose to really try and respect that. And even if a client likes and is interested in an expensive piece that could make my sales numbers for the day or be a really important sale for the studio, I can say, listen, this person is a person and I know that they are experiencing financial hardship, and maybe I talk them out of the sale instead of talking them into it. Maybe I offer to put the piece on hold. Maybe I do something to accommodate for that. And I also think we have to talk more about shopping addiction in this industry. I am seeing so many people right now de-stash their earweight and plug collections and post a lot of jewelry for sale online. And most of those people are talking about the fact that they were in a shopping addiction when it came to body jewelry and bought all of these things and now have dozens of pieces that they literally never wear. Thousands and thousands of dollars of jewelry that are sitting in a box completely unworn. And we're not talking I'm not talking about, oh, this is the initial post from when I got something pierced that was long enough for swelling. This is the plain bead that I healed my eyebrow with because it was easier than a big decorative piece of jewelry. These are big decorative expensive pieces of jewelry or plugs or ear weights that people bought for hundreds of dollars and then literally don't wear because they didn't buy it because it was perfect or because it was the exact piece they wanted. They bought it because it was on sale, because it was one of a kind, because they felt like if they didn't buy it, they'd never get the opportunity to again. I don't want to sell people something if those are the only reasons why they're buying it. And I think we as a community need to talk about the general capitalistic way of driving these sales and doing this that really encourages a lot of people to fall into a shopping addiction when they're depressed or when things are difficult in their life and when stuff is going on. And the fact that it is a bit predatory. And this industry suffers from that. And it's all of us. It's the jewelry companies, it's the makers, it's the piercers, it's the studios, and it's also the clients who fuel this type of economy, right? I don't think there's one source of this, but I think when we start talking about it and when we start acknowledging it and we start being honest about it, we can start to grow from it. I'm someone who had a really bad shopping addiction in this industry for a couple of years, and I definitely fell prey to every sales post and everything. And then I contributed to it by posting every time I got a new piece of jewelry and posting a selfie wearing it or posting something and being like, snagged this pair of ear weights, beat everyone else to them, snagged this pair of plugs, look at these new pieces I'm getting, look at how cool I am with all of my new jewelry. And I certainly felt super cool always posting a new pair of plugs or a new pair of ear weights every couple of weeks. And in hindsight, I'm kind of ashamed of that behavior because it was very materialistic. And I do think it encouraged an unhealthy competition for purchasing one-of-a-kind pieces and an unhealthy, your status is because you have a lot of really cool jewelry. And I don't like that. I don't like that that's something that I did in my 20s. And I don't like that that's something that I think still happens in this industry. And I don't like that it happens in other industries too. I don't like that it's the person with the biggest makeup collection or haul, or the crocheter with every color of yarn and 50 million skeins of yarn, or the car guy who has every tool and piece and bit and thing for the car. What does it look like to try and intentionally combat that consumerism and combat that rampant need to purchase? And is there a way that businesses, whether they're jewelry companies or small makers or piercing studios or individual piercers, can still survive and make money and put food on the table and pay their bills while not so encouraging this system that lets people fall into massive shopping addictions and then have a lot of regret and remorse years later. And of course, I don't think it's only the fault of this. Like, obviously, a lot of times shopping addictions come from a place of mental illness, or ADHD, or depression, or PTSD, or all sorts of things that we can soothe with spending and purchasing, or things where we're like, we're driven for that dopamine hit, right? So it's not solely on the responsibility of the industry. A lot of this is like individual people needing to like process and work through things and find outlets that aren't spending money. But we can acknowledge that we play a role too, right? And so what does it look like to be less sales focused? What does it look like to change our language? What does it look like to be more mindful when clients come in? And clients, what does it look like to try and not encourage these systems? What does it look like to be more intentional with your purchasing? What does it look like to still support your local studios and still get pierced and still get cool jewelry, but do it in a way that's really mindful? I don't have all the answers. I didn't make this video because I have the answers or because I want to tell someone a way to do things, or because I think I know it all. I make it this way because I feel like I am increasingly seeing and interacting with peers in the industry who are being honest about shopping addictions when it comes to body jewelry, especially for piercers, plugs, and weights. And I'm increasingly seeing clients who are expressing to me struggling with shopping addiction and like feeling like their only outlet is to get more piercings or buy more jewelry, but they're kind of drowning under how much they've already purchased. And so I felt like I should say something about it. It's one of those things where I have a platform, I should use it. This is a problem that I'm seeing happening in the industry, and I want to talk about it. How do we handle shopping addiction in this community? Have you struggled with a shopping addiction? I'd love to hear more about it. Are you a piercer or a studio owner? Have you seen clients come in who are struggling with a shopping addiction? How do you handle that? Do you work for a jewelry company or are you a maker? How do you feel about the way we advertise and the way we talk about pieces? I want to celebrate one of a kind and rare and unique pieces. And I obviously you got to send sales emails. You got to let people know what's going on. Is there a more mindful way we can talk about and do these things? What's the balance between honoring the people that make up this industry and being a successful business in a capitalistic culture where we're probably entering a recession? I don't know, but I want to talk about it. And as someone who has struggled with a shopping addiction in this industry before, I want to be honest that it's a thing that happens and a thing that exists because I think there's a lot of shame around it. And I think there's a lot more people than we realize struggling with shopping addictions related to tattoos and body piercing, especially tattoos. I'm not a tattoo artist. I didn't touch on that, but there are folks out there who be getting tattooed like every other week. And I know that they are spending every dime they have on tattoos. And I know that they say that like more tattoos are the only thing that makes them feel better. And I'm watching people go from having like one tiny tattoo when they're 19 to being completely covered by like 21. And I'm asking myself how they got there and what's going on and if they're okay. And yeah, I think we have to talk about shopping and spending addiction in this industry and how do we navigate that? How do we handle that? What is that balance between maintaining a business and trying to be mindful and conscientious of the human element and not feed into these things? Again, I don't have the answers, but I'd like to start the conversation and I'm curious to hear what you think. All right, folks, thanks so much for sitting down and chatting. I know this one got a little heavy. Also, and I hope my points made sense. This is one of those ones that I didn't script. I just kind of wanted to speak from the heart because it is something close to me. And I worry that maybe I got a little meandery in this video. But I have a lot of thoughts and a lot of feelings on the subject, and I wanted to share them honestly with you. So I'm curious to hear what everyone thinks. All right, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and I can't wait to sit down and chat with y'all next week. Bye.